Yeah. So hello everyone. Welcome to today's video. This is Shanmugaraj. As you know, I'm continuing my videos on agile series as well as leadership as well as project management series. Today we are continuing our journey on product agility, useful videos for product owners. Today we're going to discuss about story of an user story. Right? Look at that. This particular slide we already talked about yesterday itself. How the product backlog and how the epics release features and user stories and work items are identified in a funnel actually. So epics are bigger ones, or it is splitted into features are splitted into user stories are splitted into tasks, right? That's how it works. Yesterday we talked about the product backlog, what are the different strategies. You can build the product roadmap, right? From the roadmap we talked about how do we use the deep principle for building a product backlog, right? So today we're going to talk about a story. How we're going to build the story. What is a story? Stories act as a Pidgin language where both sides, users and developers, can agree enough to work together effectively. So this is a statement from Bill Wake, co-inventor of extreme programming, right? So he invented extreme programming along with Kent Beck, right? So what he's talking about is a story acts as a Pidgin language where users and developers can agree enough, right? So what is a story? Is a stop description of a small piece of desired functionality written in users language, as simple as that. It is a piece of requirement, it has been written in users language, as simple as that. All right. See, agile team implements small vertical slices of system functionality and are sized so that they can be completed in a single iteration. So what does it mean to you is a story should be of a size, should be completed within iteration. That it is called story, right? Otherwise, you cannot call that a story. You have to split the story into another smaller one, right? The stories are a primary artifact used to define a system behavior in agile. They are short, simple descriptions of functionality, usually told from user's perspective and written in their user's language, right? The stories provide just enough information for both business and technical people to understand the intent. Details are deferred until the story is ready to be implemented. Through acceptance criteria and acceptance tests, stories get more specific, helping to ensure system quality, right? So hope you got a nice idea about what is a story. As simple as that, it is a short description about a small piece of desired functionality written in user's language, right? So primary artifact in agile or adaptive methods. What is the source of a story? Stories are typically driven by splitting business and enabler features, right? As this picture describes. So there is a business feature. Navigate a vehicle for a delivery request, right? Let's say that there is an automated self-driving vehicle or something is delivered automatically. So benefit hypothesis, the vehicle can autonomously drive the delivery route. Acceptance criteria is pick up and drop off locations are fixed. Assume well marked street with the US only traffic indication. So this is the business feature. Look at that. This business features can be split into user story as well as an enabler story. So as a vehicle owner, I want the vehicle to determine the speed limit and set the speed to that limit so that traffic laws are obeyed during the delivery. This can be one of the user stories, right? Enabler story can be characteristics like characterize characterize the camera's ability to read international speed signs, right? So generally you can split your business features into multiple stories, right? So how to write a good story? Good stories require multiple perspectives. In agile, the entire team, the product owner, developers and testers, create a shared understanding of what to build to reduce the rework and increase the throughput, right? Teams collaborate using behavioral driven development to define detailed acceptance tests that definitely describe each story, right? So very important that good user story should have multiple perspectives. Perspective of the product owner, perspective of a developer from technical angle, perspective of a tester, as well as it should have an acceptance criteria in BDD format. As simple as that. These are the writing a way of writing a good stories. The product owner provides customer thinking for viability and desirability. Right? So product owner perspective will be customer thinking. Developers provide technical feasibility. Testers provide broad thinking of exceptions, edge cases, and other unexpected ways user may interact with the system. So that is the contribution from the testers. Right? The collaborative story writing ensures all the perspectives are addressed. Everyone agrees that stories behavior with the results represented in the story's description, acceptance criteria, and acceptance test. The acceptance tests are written using the system domain language with behavioral driven development. We'll see some of the examples. Then BDD test can be automated to maintain the built-in quality. Right? So this is the way of writing a good user story. You need to bring multiple perspectives like product owner, development team, and testers, and you need to add good acceptance criteria using BDD format. As simple as that. Right? So user story is a primary means of expressing needed functionality. Right? Look at the format they're using. As a user role, I want this activity to happen so that I will gain this business value, so that the user will gain this much of a business value. Look at this example. As a vehicle owner, I want the vehicle to determine the speed limit and set the speed to that limit so that the business value, the traffic laws are obeyed during the delivery. See, I am owning a autonomous vehicle which is can drive by its own, right? So what I want to know, if there is a delivery order comes to me, I am assigning this particular vehicle, so it is going to start from a starting point to end point. So as a user, as a vehicle owner, I want the vehicle to determine the speed by itself, right? So that the traffic laws are obeyed, right? So they have to see the signs and everything. That is an enabler story. How to recognize the international signs, right? That's another story. You can create another stories. This is a very good example of writing a simple user story, right? So there is uh, another aspect of ensuring that writing a good story is the three C's: card, conversation, and confirmation. Ron Jeffries, one of the inventors of XP, is credited with describing the three C's of a story. Right? When I say a story should be in a card size, it should fit in an index card, should be in a sticky note. That can be for a tool like Jira, Azure DevOps, where you can put in right in a simple box. Right? That's what is meaning of a card, in a user story perspective. When a user story should fit in a card, index card, should be small enough or brief enough to talk about that simple information. As a user, I want this so that I will get that report so and so, something like that. The second thing is the conversation. The story should promise for a conversation. It's very, very important that team should be able to converse about it along with the customer, along with the product, proxy product owner or product owner who is representing the customer. The discussion is very necessary because to determine more detailed behavior required to implement the intent of it. That's very, very important. The conversation may span, additional specificity in the form of acceptance criteria or attachment to the user story. The conversation spans, all steps in story life cycle. You can discuss in a backlog refinement. You can discuss in a sprint planning meeting. You can discuss while implementing it. You can discuss in during the demos. Right? This just-in-time discussion create a shared understanding of a scope that formal documentation cannot provide. So you don't need FSDs, you don't need BRDs. Big documents you don't need it. Right? So specification by examples replaces detailed documentation. Conversations also help uncovering the gap in user scenarios and non-functional requirements. So it's very, very important that that story should promise a conversation. We can converse this a story in a refinement meeting, you can converse this in a sprint planning meeting, right? At any point of your story life cycle. But it should be fit in a card side and it should promise a conversation. The third C is the confirmation. Acceptance criteria should be written in a BDD format, preferably in a BDD format. The acceptance criteria provides the information needed to ensure the story is implemented correctly. So how do you validate it? The validation mechanism is provided in the form of acceptance criteria, right? So for the stories we have seen, right, for the vehicle story, right, some of the acceptance criteria, given the vehicle driving at the current speed limit, when a new speed limit is lower, then current speed becomes the new speed before the new limit applies. Right? So vehicle is driving in a particular speed and it finds the new speed limit which is lower. The current speed should become a new speed. That's all. That's another one of the acceptance criteria. Given that driving at current speed limit, when the slower vehicle is detected in the front, the current speed is reduced to the maintained the minimum safe distance. Right? So simply nicely written, acceptance criteria. You can write as many acceptance criteria for a story to give that better validation mechanism. Right? Another aspect of writing a good user story is using invest model. Invest in good stories. The invest model developed by Bill Wake from extreme programming. Alright, let's look at what is it invest refers to as. Invest means first I refers for independent. It should be independent among other stories. It cannot be duplicate, it cannot be dependent, it should be independent by itself. N is negotiable. A flexible statement of intent or not a contract. It is equivalent to the conversation, that is promising a conversation. Something negotiable means he is promising a conversation. Valuable. Providing a valuable vertical slice to the customer. It's very, very important. It should provide a business value. It should be a vertical slice. It should be estimatable. If E is for estimatable. It should be small as well as estimatable, negotiable, whatever it is. Team should be able to assign or fit in a story point, from the beginner's series. S means small, it's equivalent of a card, right? Fits in within iteration, right? When I say small story, when you create a story, it should be executable, it should be implementable within an iteration, right? In a 3C method, the card is equivalent to, small and estimatable. T is for testable, right? Understood enough to know how to test it. That is about the third C, the confirmation, right? You should have an acceptance criteria. So if either you follow invest principle and 3C principle, you will get to a good story for sure. You can use both, you can use combination of it. It's very, very important, right? How can estimating a story, you can use a planning poker. So basically a story point is a singular number that represents combination of volume, complexity, knowledge and uncertainty, right? So you can, story points are relative without connection to any specific unit of measures, right? So size of a new story is estimated related to the smallest story, which is assigned to a size of 1. Simple as that, right? So this is how we can invest in a good stories. Let's see some of the examples of writing user stories, right? As a banking customer, I want access view summary of my savings account so that I know my balance and other activities. As a banking customer, I want to log into net banking so that I can view my credit card details, right? So these are some of the examples of good user stories. Let's look at an example of good acceptance criteria. As a customer, I want to order and pay for a book via a secured web-based platform so that my credit card information is safe. So you are ordering a book in Amazon, want to capture the credit card information. So what it's asking is, I should be able to pay for it in a secured way actually. So what is acceptance criteria? All the mandatory fields must be completed before customer can submit a form. Information from the form is stored in a customer orders database. Payment can be made via Amex, MasterCard, and Visa. System shall accurately calculate and apply sales tax. System shall accurately calculate and apply shipping charges. Customer shall be able to verify accuracy of the order. The protection against firm is working. An acknowledgement email is sent to the customer submitting the form. Right? All they can you can talk about even the protocol. If it is a technical story, you can talk about the protocol as well. Right? Look at that, detailness of this good acceptance criteria. So this gives good information for testers to write a good acceptance test. Right? That's very, very important. Let's look at an example of a bad acceptance criteria. As a customer, I want to receive notification when an incident is committed so that I am updated on the status. What is acceptance criteria written? The appropriate people are notified when incidents are committed. Is it a good one? No. It is poor because they do not give enough detail to test. What you will test? Who are the appropriate people? When they should be notified? Nothing is there. So acceptance criteria could have been better written as as an ESS user, create an incident, select, modify interested parties, save the incident, log in as interested party, check you that you have received an email so that for log incidents. So it makes very simple life, right? So behavioral driven development is a way of writing acceptance criteria by giving examples of how a software should behave in different scenarios. They are written in a standard format that promotes clarity as well as allowing easy integration with automated testing. Right? The standard format is as follows. Given some preconditions, context, or starting points, when some actions, events, or inputs occur, then some specific result is expected. Right? So let's see one of the examples. Given the value entered in the number text box is not numerical. So what is the condition? There is an input box. I am entering something. So given the value in the number box, you are typing A and B or something, which is not that is a some precondition or a context to it. You are adding given the situation, right? Given the conditions. What is the condition? If somebody is typing, some value which is not numerical in that box, that is a condition. When some actions, when the form is submitted, when the person is clicking the submit, then what should happen? Some specific result is expected, right? Then an error message saying that please enter a numerical value or something. As simple as that, right? Very, very simply written BDD, used acceptance criteria, right? So let's look at another couple of examples given, combination of story as well as acceptance criteria. As a website user, I want to able to search on the web page so that I can find the necessary information. What is acceptance criteria? Given that I am in a role of a registered or a guest user, when I open the products page, then system shows me the list of all the products. The system shows the search section in the right top corner of the screen. When I fill in the search field with the name of existing in the product list, existing item in the product list, and I click apply button or press enter key on the keyboard, then the system shows the product in the search results section with the product name matching enter the product name, right? And the system shows the number of search results in the top of the search results section. So you should have as detailed as possible, right? So I'm as a user, I want to know, I want to search certain information. So you can given the person, right? Given that I am the role, I'm playing the role. When I open the products, then system shows me that on all the products. Right, so that's a simple, nicely written acceptance criteria. Let's look at another example. As a website user, I want to be able to submit feedback so that website owners can consider my opinion or concern, during the future website updates. This is a user story. Acceptance criteria, given that I am a role of logged in on a guest user, when I open the feedback page, the system shows me submit feedback from containing email, name, and comment fields which are required. When I fill email field with a valid email address, and I fill a name with my name, and I fill in my comments with my comments, and I click submit feedback, the system submits my feedback, and the system shows that we have successfully submitted our feedback. The flash message comes and the system clears the fields and of the submit feedback form. Right. This is one of the acceptance criteria. You can add another acceptance criteria when that given the situation I can log in is when a person is giving a wrong email address, then it is throw an error message saying that the email is not valid, email is invalid, right? So this is how we can create number of nicely written acceptance criteria in a BDD format. Yeah, a small story can have as many acceptance criteria as possible to ensure the built-in quality or system quality, whatever you are using as a definition of them. Okay, so I think with that I'm come to a conclusion of today's video. Hope you got an excellent view on user story. What is a user story? What is a good user story will look like, and how to write a good user story using 3C's and invest principles, and how do I write a good acceptance criteria using BDD method of writing it. And then you have to automate it, you have to have a clear definition of them, then you have all those things whatever the Azure requires to get into working software and MVP or whatever you call that, right? So user story is an important vehicle for for the team to ensure that that story fits within the iteration, and the story is delivering value as part of minimum viable product or a working software, right? So thanks a lot for your patient listening. I really feel that you should have got a fair idea about what is a story, how to write a story, how to write a good story using all the principles like 3C, invest, and BDD, right? So thanks for patient listening. I would like to understand your feedback in terms of my improvements towards my delivery as well as my content. Okay, thank you, bye bye.